Hello, I'm Barry Kostiner, the CEO of Legacy Education Alliance, listed on OTC under the symbol LEAI. Today is the second part in our series on mathematical proofs. As we discussed last time, we're very delighted to launch Legacy Degree. Our goal is to help people who may have fallen off the traditional academic path, dropped out of college, maybe they don't want to invest that much time and money. There's many ways to get a very low-cost degree that can set you on a rewarding career, such as nursing, being a CPA, psychologist, very different things. And one thing we very much believe in is that education is really a separate topic. I know my personal background from MIT with a focus on mathematics and engineering, management science. I happen to love knowledge and believe it's something that should be free, which is why we created our nonprofit LegacyOpenLibrary.org, which we take some of our favorite courses from edX, MIT, Yale, Oxford. And what I want to do is just introduce a very quick taste of some of the introductory ideas in mathematics. I know one thing that scares people a lot is trigonometry, which is a gateway to calculus. My feeling is even if somebody is in a more liberal arts-oriented personality, I really feel that they should still taste the enjoyment and pleasure of mathematics. So I just want to introduce some of the ideas and a few quick ideas. So one of the ideas I like is proofs. One of the principal ideas of mathematics is that once you have the first principles, you should be able to derive some of the fundamental ideas. You shouldn't have to memorize things. Mathematics really helps you to think, and for that reason I really believe it's something that everybody should enjoy. So one of the ideas that scares people is often trigonometry. So let me introduce one of the core ideas. Is here we have what's called a unit circle, a radius of size 1. So in other words, you basically take unit 1, and so then you have the radius. So if you move this point along the circumference of the circle, it's always a distance of 1 from the center. So one of the interesting things that they created is a concept called a sine and a cosine. So it's a very simple relationship. Is if you're starting here at this point and this is the radius, the idea is you have the opposite, this is the opposite of the angle, and this is the adjacent. So the definition, let's call this, they use Greek characters theta. So you have the angle measuring theta. So the definition of sine of angle theta is the opposite over the radius, O over R. The definition of the cosine of theta is A, the adjacent over R. And so what is very interesting is people are used to the sine wave. And this is what a sine wave looks like if you look at the sine. So notice if this is at 0 degrees, so it means that this is here, which means that this opposite shrinks to 0. So at 0 it's going to be 0. But at the same time is at 0, on the cosine, the adjacent is going to be the full radius. So the cosine is actually 1. So this is how you get going through 90 degrees, then 180 degrees, then 270, then 360. And you see this is how you create a sine wave, and the cosine wave is 90 degrees shifted. These ideas take a little while to sink in. So one of the ideas that I want to teach is the concept of proofs. And proofs, like I said, is people memorize things, and what I want to show is you don't have to memorize some of the basic concepts. So one of the ideas that is one of the first points is the cosine square of theta plus the sine square of theta is equal to 1. So that's one of the basic things when you start learning trigonometry, everybody memorizes. One of the things that I want to show is that you don't have to memorize it. It's one of the easiest proofs in trigonometry. So we know that cosine of theta is A over R. So the square of that is going to be A over R squared. And similarly, the sine is opposite. Here we go, the opposite over the radius. So plus the opposite over the radius squared. So we're going to say this is equal to 1. How do we know that that's true? Well, in the case of this, where you have a unit circle, so R is 1. So the square of 1 is 1. So you have A squared plus O squared equals 1. So how do we know that this is true? Well, one of the fundamentals of geometry is if you have a right angle triangle. So here we have 1. This is the opposite, R to R. We know that the sides of the triangles, O squared plus R squared equals 1. The classic people sometimes are used to saying AB. So we know that the foundation of Pythagoras theorem is A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So here we just show very simply derive this function cosine square theta plus sine square theta equals 1. The principles of the unit circle, the definition of sine and cosine, and I just wanted to kick this off, and we'll go into other things to just launch the idea that some of the basic ideas in trigonometry, calculus, proofs, if we go back, and I think sometimes people go off track because, you know, these ideas that are pretty fundamental, grade 6, grade 7, grade 2, wherever it is, they lose that clarity and they say, oh, math is not for me. And that's one of the things we're focused here. And legacy degree is, you know, we'll get you through on the path towards a career, but if we can help guide you for free resources to kind of build that foundation in some of the fundamentals of math, literature, science, we're very grateful to have that opportunity. Be well and keep learning.